Is it lunchtime yet? I'm getting really hungry and a little hangry. But luckily, this snake right here got its lunch. This snake is eating this poor little mouse. And today we're going to talk about what eats what and how energy travels through food chains and food webs. So everything is about food. Right here, we're going to show you an example of a food chain. We have some blueberries right here. Maybe a lot of you have gone up to Maine and had blueberries right off the trail. Really good. So in a food chain, we're going to show arrows to show what eats what. So in this example, the deer is eating the blueberry. The arrow represents the flow of energy. The energy from this blueberry is flowing to this deer. Next, we have this cheetah. So this cheetah is going to chase down this deer and have a good meal. The energy is flowing from the deer to the cheetah. And finally, in this example, we're going to have this human hunt down this poor cheetah and get a meal. So the energy again is flowing from the cheetah to the human. A food chain represents a linear representation of energy. Okay, the second part of this talk on this slide right here is about trophic levels. If we were to separate it like this, what we mean by trophic levels is where the energy is and how it flows. So right here, we call this the primary producer. So this, not producer-y, let's just cross that out, primary producer. Blueberries make energy from the sun through photosynthesis, so they're the original primary source of energy. They're primary producers. The deer eats the blueberries, so we call this a primary consumer. The cheetah eats the deer, so we're going to call that a secondary consumer. And this human is the last in this example food chain, so we call this the third level or tertiary consumer. Next part is a really important concept. As you go through this food chain and we look at the energy flow, at each different step, at each different trophic level, 10% of the energy is transferred to each level. So when this deer eats this blueberry, it only gets 10% of the energy that's available because the rest is lost to heat. So at each part, only 10% of the energy is transferred. So again, when the cheetah eats this deer, it's only going to get 10% of the available energy because the rest is lost to heat. So if you had 100% of your energy down here at the primary producer level, only 10% would be available in the primary consumers, then 1% would be available at the secondary consumer level, and then 0.1% of the available energy would be available at the tertiary consumer level. So basically what you want to know is this number 10. 10% of the energy is transferred to each level, the rest is lost to heat. Our last example showed a food chain, but a food chain is kind of unrealistic because there's so many more things going on. A food web is a more complex version and shows more of the interactions. So right here we had our food chain that was like this, but a food web shows more of the interactions. So we have this acorn, the energy flowing to the squirrel because the squirrel eats the acorn. This hawk swoops down, eats the squirrel. But you also might have this bear eating the blueberries. You also might have the squirrel eating the blueberries here as well. And what else might we have? It's quite possible that the human might eat the bear. So interactions are more complex than just a food chain, so they came up with food webs. That's the second video of energy flow, and I hope you found that helpful. Thank you.